try that. And then, yeah, if you all guys could check on those services and see if they're working okay. That's great.
It says live stream offline right now.
Okay.
My end. On
Okay.
YouTube.
On YouTube, I think it started. I see there's an image on the page.
There is an image on the page.
Cool. All right. So let's let people in the Zoom chat and we can get started.
Yeah. I love that we're doing that at 11 a.m.
All right. So welcome everyone. Welcome to the meeting. I see Raymond. Raymond's over there. Raymond Cugnolio over there in South Africa.
Wow.
It's probably.
What time is it there? What time is it in South Africa? Like 8 hours ahead, something like that?
So tell us, Raymond, what time is it? You can say. I turn on your mic.
It's 8 o'clock in the evening.
8 o'clock in the evening.
Wow.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
In the evening.
Yeah, 9 hours. How you doing, brother?
Are you talking to me or you're talking to Raymond?
You talking to me? No, I'm talking to Raymond.
Hey, we're good. We're good.
Good.
I don't know. Okay.
No, I can
Nice.
hear you. Yeah.
I thought I'd just check in with you because I saw you. We'll mute you again. You're now a muted
Yes.
muted participant. All right. Oh, and actually, I'll make sure that people cannot unmute themselves. Can you guys, can Sarah or Patrick or Daniel take care of that? It's one of the options for participants. Okay, I fixed that. All right. David, what do you think? Should we get started with this?
Yeah. Welcome everybody. All these insane creatures from all over the world. Geez, humans are insane creatures. And that's, we're doing this because we're making a podcast, and I'm assuming that some people that tune into our podcast, oh, that seems interesting, don't know anything about us, what we're doing, whether we're bozos or not. So I felt like it was really good to just let you folks know, and other folks that'll come upon us, kind of where we've been for our time in this insane world of music and pianos. So I'm going to turn it back over to Ethan and let him do his beautiful, version of an introduction, and then I'll tell you a little bit about what's coming up, and then we'll get right into it.
Sounds great. Actually, Pat, we're going to throw it over to Pat
Mr.
Carr,
Journey.
who's going to give us the sponsor for our wonderful event.
Okay. This event is being brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online educational research that offers you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. Find out more at www.pianotechniciansmasterclass/PTM2020.
Thank you very much, Pat.
Awesome.
I love how it actually sounds like a radio hour at this point.
Yeah. I was completely digging. That was my first, when he first read it before we went on the air, I was like, yeah, radio sounds like my little brother's radio show. Awesome.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for that, Pat. We're going to start this episode off actually by giving you guys a little bit of a preview of what's to come. I'll start by asking David some questions after he gives you a preview, but he's excited to tell you about what's coming up next week and the week after that on Piano Technicians Masterclass. So David, why don't you tell them who we're bringing on board?
All right. Next week, there's going to be a duo, a dynamic duo from out here in Southern California. Mr. Alan Eder, who has been the head of piano services at Cal Arts, which is one of the most progressive and legendary music and art schools in the country, maybe the world, I don't know. Cal Arts in Valencia, California. He's been there for 30 years. He's spun off many, many, many apprentices that have become beautiful, awesome piano technicians. He's an incredible piano technician. He's a high-end piano technician. He's tuned probably up. He's also deeply passionate about the history of piano. And I don't know if you've ever been to a national conference, but he's done his, and it's the most entertaining class I've probably ever been to. So, and he has been the piano technician and the concert and recording technician for Danny Holt, who is in LA, at least, he's a famous piano artist and composer. And he was Alan's apprentice at Cal Arts for a year and a half, 2 years. And so he knows way more about the interior of a piano and the nomenclature than most concert pianists do. He's been an epic piano acquirer and then trading that piano for another. And they're going to go through quickly 7 or 8 pianos he's used since his childhood. And these two men have an incredible look into our modern piano world, the way the world is, musicians are, the industry is now, and they're going to be completely open to questions. So that's next week. The week after that, we're going to have, I believe, is certainly one of the most top 5 commercially and ethically successful piano technicians in the world. He makes tons of money. He's got great accounts, both private and institutional, tons of studios. And he's been in LA for almost 40 years, and he's just a beloved figure. He's a great piano technician. He's the chief Imagineer for Rayburn Cybertuner. He's a brilliant guy, an incredible raconteur. He tells fabulous stories, and he's got tons of stories. So he's going to be the week after that. And then we're looking at a bunch of other people. We'd like to get some fluent English speakers from places other than the United States. We're really looking at programming this so that you people, my brothers and sisters from all over who are piano nerds and passionate about this world of music and this world of acoustic pianos, especially good high-end acoustic pianos, or just good pianos, can really benefit by this, can learn, because if you're not learning, you're sleeping. And that's the way it is for me. Every day I go out, every day I talk about pianos, talk to other people about pianos. It's just a constant learning experience. So we are here to facilitate that. Mr. Janney.
Very true. Very well said. Yeah, so we're looking forward to those people coming on, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to learn a lot. And like David said, another preview about what's coming up. We're recording these, it's sort of like a podcast. We're actually going to make an official podcast out of the show, so that you'll be able to listen to edited versions, audio versions of these, when you're driving around, you're tuning, or when you're, doing some shop work or something like that. So look out for that coming up. We'll start releasing podcast episodes soon for your favorite podcast player app. So I'd like to launch this conversation. This conversation today it was David's idea to interview each other about our experience in the piano industry, and thought it was a wonderful way to help you get to know each of us. And I've talked to David a little bit about his history, and actually one of the bonuses in the Piano Technicians Masterclass library is a full interview that I did with David just about him and his history as a piano technician. So I know a little bit about that. And this sort of has to do with piano technology, but I love the story of you just coming to California and being a young musician and sort of trying to make your way. So can you just tell everybody, you know, how you made your way to California and why you came? And
Sure. I was a full-time touring rock and roll musician until like 74, pretty much. In and out of the record business. I had a gift. I was a good singer, good songwriter, good drummer, pretty good player. And, you know, and I didn't want, so my home base was Atlanta at that. I tried to figure what I could do where I could still play, but just not be on the road. And I'd always said, oh, I can be a piano technician. Jeez. And so, piano technician in 1975, pretty much. And then I kept doing music, and I wrote some tunes, and I sent them to some people in California, and they got excited about them. And in the end of 1980, like last week in December, first week in January, 81, I moved to California. I was a single parent. I had my daughter with me. She was 5 at the time. And I wound up 2.5 months later sitting in the Beverly Hills bungalow of a man by the name of Clive Davis, who was literally a legend in the piano business. Had first recorded Janis Joplin, the Big Brother and the Holding Company, Bob Dylan, Peter, Paul, and Mary. He gave those people record deals and a lot others. Legendary cat. And he had somehow heard a song of mine and had said, well, I'll, hear what the kid has. So imagine me as a dorky 29-year-old dressed in fairly dorky clothes at that point, walking into the bungalow of this music mega icon with my acoustic guitar. And he said, play me some songs. So play me the one I liked. And so played him this song I wrote called Someone, and he flipped out. He said, that's a hit. That's a legitimate hit. Play me a couple more. So I played him, I think, 4 songs, and he said, well, that's good. 3 of those are possible singles. Let's make records. And so that was my introduction to California. And I was working full-time to part-time, very flexible at a old line family-owned piano store because I could tune pianos pretty well at that time even. That is the story of how I came to California.
Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds like a very exciting time. Yeah. I like envy that kind of fun situation that you're in there. So in terms of
it was yeah, go ahead.
In terms of fast forwarding to the past, say 10, 15, 20 years, you started out as a piano technician and you're running around tuning pianos like
very street.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, very street. I had no real formal training. I had a mentor who was a great tuner and an okay regulator and voicer. Then I moved on and on and on. I just failed upwards. I made a lot of mistakes.
Thank you for sharing that, as you are always so humble to share. As I think I've heard, in our reviews, because we get feedback from people after these events, definitely in events where you and Dale, right, and Arlen did the event together, and all 3 of you kind of said, hey, we're making lots of mistakes. That's how we got where we are. You got to get your hands dirty, that kind of stuff. And I got feedback from people that it was just so valuable to hear that it's almost like it's almost like an essential tool of someone that wants to become great, is that they're going to be willing to make all these mistakes along the way. And people, I think, were very, it was very refreshing to a lot of people to hear that. So thank you for sharing that.
What I say in my class, yeah, go ahead.
So I think what I wanted to jump to, which I think is also an interesting topic, is how you shifted in relatively recent years to becoming like a boutique piano restorer. And what was your inspiration, or how did that transition happen? What was that time like in your life?
That's a great question. So I was working as a piano technician, basically working on Steinways to prepare in the warehouse of Sherman Clay, which was the biggest Steinway dealer in maybe the world. They had like 40 stores all over California and Washington, Oregon, Arizona, and Texas. And I prepared Steinways either in the stores locally or in the warehouse to ship other places. And I supervised a crew and sometimes worked on them on Sherman Clay stencil pianos that were made in Korea. Difficult. A lot of warranty work. And so, I'm sorry, I lost the track. What was the question? How did I get into the upper end? Yeah. So
and also just specifically
in the 80s.
Specifically getting into doing the restoration work that you're into these days. Yeah.
Got it. So I was there. I was by 87, 88, Sherman Clay had shifted their whole management thing. So I was kind of out of it by then. But I thought I was, I'd worked on thousands of Steinways since 1982 or 1983. And I thought that was pretty good. And the new Steinways were pretty good. I wasn't. So anyway, I walked into a store and played and looked at a piano that had been restored by Richard Davenport, who was kind of like this overwhelming presence in LA that I think I'd met him once, who was kind of like the consciousness of all, or the conscience rather, of all piano tuners, high-end aspirants. He was an amazing piano technician and rebuilder. And he only has ever done like one piano a year. So he had done this piano, Steinway B, for a client, and the client put it into a store on consignment. And so I walked in the store, oh, it's Steinway, cool. And I sat down and played it, and it was almost like I had taken a huge hit of LSD at that moment. It was epiphanic. It was, are you kidding me? This piano sounded and felt an order of magnitude better, literally, than a new Steinway. It was beyond what I ever had put my hands on before. And that was that really was the great, like, oh my God, I am so arrogant. I am thinking that I know what, piano restoration is, or piano repair, or whatever. This is a whole other level, right? And that started my journey. I got an apprentice in '89, and he was opera before he was a piano technician, and he got completely into it, joined the guild, became mentored by Richard Davenport, Adele Fan, all these, and Daryl Fandrick, and all these incredible, Dale Earl, all these incredible restorers, and we just leaped into it. And I love to play a vintage Steinway that has been restored in an artisan way. And now, thank God, there's big handfuls in this country of artisan restorers, artisan builders that can really take a piano that's completely thrashed and make it into something beautiful, really beautiful. So I'm really grateful I came into that. And then in 2005, I decided, why shouldn't I be selling these pianos? Jeez. So for the last 15 years, I've had a little pod of boutique pianos. Before the recession, I mostly owned them. After the recession, they're mostly consignment. So that's where I am now, and I sell a handful a year, literally 5, 6. And it's just one stream of the income of David Anderson Pianos, but I'm so grateful to not have to deal with the other part of the piano, the lower ends of the piano business, because this is what I love. I love picking out good grand pianos and tricking them out, and that's my edge on everybody else. I can make the piano sound better than much lower per hour human being can. So that's my story.
That's
Sticking
great.
to it.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think that just what's coming to me immediately as you're talking about it is just having people to inspire you. It's not just having the piano inspired you that you played, but searching for the mentors,
Yeah.
searching for the folks that you can use as your guide in your path. You're going to make your own path, but it's going to be like a combination of these people that you're networking with and learning from and integrating with, right?
100%. I spent 3 weeks at the Steinway factory in, 84, 83 with Bill Garlick, another life-changing, completely spot weld kind of moment in time. I learned so much. So I think all of our paths are partly just on the job training, and that's where it's really important to not be afraid to fail. If you do it in the appropriate way, look, you go human failure rate. But if your attitude, your internal atmosphere is ready for that and really understands you need that, best when there's a challenge. So I was terrified that I was self-talk based on a quote failure. My little sister is a very successful business strategist, coach, author, and she wrote a little book called Be Bad First, because this thing of fear of failure and terror of failure, and oh my God, is just rampant among human beings. So she wrote a book like, you're gonna be bad at first. First time you try to regulate a set of dampers, unless you're some kind of weird, got some kind of damper superpower, you're not gonna be that good. Same thing with everything. Same thing with tuning a piano. Same thing with being in a relationship. Same thing with anything, man. You are not gonna be good. If you don't have any training or fundamentals, you're not gonna be good. And even then, you're not gonna be good, because doing is different than thinking.
On the piggyback of that last question, about mentors, or the comment about mentors and finding the right people, and what you're talking about finding, mistakes, or finding opportunities to make mistakes. I think one of the topics that overlaps with me is that you're learning from those mentors, and you're learning like what mistakes are okay to make and what mistakes should don't make that mistake. Okay. You talked a little bit about on-the-job training and going to Steinway. And so I think a lot of people might think, okay, I want to get in the room with a mentor, And I think that's a very beautiful thing to be able to do. But I'm also curious, because we're talking about my path as well, and what I'm trying to bring to people. And I know that you're very supportive of Piano Technicians Masterclasses as a digital option for people to find mentorship and work with people. How do you see that, like the new edutech in piano industry integrating into what we've previously had? What are the advantages you see?
What a great question, because I'm looking into seriously creating an online piano technicians, whatever, oasis, sanctuary, workshop, graduate school, where this stuff can really be a reality. That piano technicians, that we can translate it and at least, and there's an insane hunger several places. But we're coming into a completely different time and space. And these online realms are going to get better and better and better and better. And this is the future, I believe. So it's a tremendous I think if you come to a class with me or look at all these other insanely gifted piano technicians, Sally Phillips, Ken Eshite, on Piano Technicians Masterclass, man, you can glean so much. If you come to classes with people that really know what they're talking about and are really good teachers and presenters, transmitters, same, you can have the same experience. The most intimate, the most vulnerable, the most honest experience you can have is with another human being, somebody who's really become good at this and knows both that they don't know a damn thing and that they know quite a bit. It's a paradox that we all have to kind of try to figure out. I'm good, and man, I'm like an apprentice every day. So I think the future's tremendously rosy for high-end piano technicians, for piano technicians that do incredible work, the best practices, no matter what their practice looks like. But the caveat is, I think the practice in 10 years, maybe, certainly in 20 years, will be a lot of the high end. It will be more and more, better and better acoustic pianos will be the demographic, the market for us.
So, David, I'm getting a little bit of feedback that your reception's not great, and I think that we might try pausing. If you go to that the web page with the Zencastr link and just go ahead and close it, that might be affecting your stream. We'll see. And if that's not it, we'll maybe pause your video. Yeah, just bear with us, folks, for a second.
Yeah, I'm Zencastr, and what do I do? Press the red button.
You know what? I'll kick you off. I think I've got that option.
All right.
And you can also just X out that tab on your browser. See if that helps.
All right.
And if that doesn't work, we'll just we might have to pause your video, and then your audio should come through much better.
All right. Is that okay?
It's okay right now. We'll see how it goes. Cool. Yeah, I think it is a little bit better.
All right. So let's flip this around. Let's talk about you for a little while, and then we'll take questions. Hopefully, if not, please say, nah, it's no better, or it's this. And if it's no better, then I will stop my video, and maybe the audio will get a little bit better. Okay? So
good.
Is it good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we should stop your video. I'm not sure. there might be someone in your house watching Netflix. I don't know.
No, there's nobody in my house.
Okay.
watching Netflix.
Okay.
And
Must just be something.
I'm on absolutely the right network.
Okay.
I
Cool.
checked that before. I'm on the right network, full strength.
Okay.
So you're what we call a polymath. You have many passions and many interests. You've got college degrees in various shocking and groovy fields. So you want to talk about that a little bit? Just how you came to being fascinated by pianos and piano technology?
Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, to sidestep the polymath question a little bit. Well, actually, no. I think I could lead into it in an interesting way. So when I got out of high school, was forced with a decision about what I wanted to study in university, and I was in a band of folks that all had decided pretty much to go to school for music. And I kind of thought, oh, I can't do that. I got to do something, quote unquote, practical. So I went, and for a year, I was studying physics at a local university outside of Chicago. And the thing that was very interesting about that time is I just got so obsessed with the piano and playing during that time. I would literally break into the practice rooms at night to be there to practice all night. I would fall asleep on the piano bench playing piano, just obsessed with the fact that I would hear Herbie Hancock playing music and think, how does he do it? Like, how the heck does he do that? And how could I possibly do that as well? So at that point, I decided I actually going to have to go to music school. And I went to music school and studied actually alongside some of my friends who are already at Rutgers University, which has a great music school called Mason Gross School of the Arts. And at that time, while I was at school, I started to learn about piano technology from a great mentor I had there. His name was Dave Miller, and he was in charge of the pianos at the university. And as I graduated school, it became a great way in which I could, earn some extra income. And I, at a certain point, realized, this isn't just for money. Like, if I want to keep doing this, I actually have to have a passion for it. And I developed my passion for it. It was something where I developed the instinct to just always want to know the best, and be the best and care for every single piano. And it's not just a job, it's serving other people. And I think once I got into it on that level, that's the level where I really identify with you, David, of that kind of thing where you visit any piano you visit, you just want to deliver the best you can. Not to say that you are the best, but just to push whatever your current limit is and do the best at it. And because I did have other interests besides piano, that was something that, to be honest, I struggled with a little bit because I didn't always have the time or the resources to be able to be with the folks that could give me the best information. And I was almost determined to still be able to do that. Despite my other interests, like you mentioned, I was working on a PhD in neuroscience at a certain point. And so this kind of idea, like Piano Technicians Masterclass, being able to take advantage of technology like we're doing right now to say, hey, there doesn't have to be any boundary. There doesn't have to be any barrier to anybody on the world with any resource to be the best that they can at piano technology if they want to connect with really good piano technicians and, to learn what they need to learn to please customers and feel happy about themselves and feel fulfilled. So I mixed in a little bit of answering how I got into music and piano tech and threw in a couple other things I'm into. I hope that answered your question. Any follow-ups or any other questions from other people? I'm asking David to unmute himself.
Yes.
There you go.
So I saw a question before. Somebody wanted to know what one of my most epic fails was. I've got a shipping container. I don't have a closet full of skeletons. I've got a shipping container full of skeletons. Probably the most epic was at a point where I just really figured out how to voice pianos to this insanely beautiful golden tone, maybe 20 years ago or 25 years ago. And I was playing for this pretty big, I was tuning a piano for this, like more than a house concert, like a small auditorium concert with a pretty serious and famous classical player. And there was a Hamburg D, I think, or an American D, I can't remember which. And I voiced it before the concert. And the artist had said, oh yeah, just touch up a little bit of the attack things. And I somehow didn't listen to that and just thought, oh, I want to hear that golden tone. And I went overboard in needle stitches, very close to the strike point on the piano. And she came in, oh my God, it's really well in tune. She played a couple of things. Oh, it's really well in tune. And then she started playing it and she looked up and her gaze turned from like happy anticipation to deadly razors and steel. And she looked up at me and she said, you killed this piano.
Oh no.
And walked away. And so I got out my the quickest hardeners I had and sandpaper. And she, at a certain point, she sat back down, played the piano, said, okay, that's fine. You can go. And, completely lost the clue. I had felt like just an idiot for a long time after that. But it taught me maybe the greatest lesson I ever learned, which is don't change stuff right before a concert. Ever. If you have to pretend to change stuff, unless it's like an aftertouch or a teeny bit of, taking off the high partials, just, a teeny bit. Don't ever make any kind of, what the player can perceive as a major change. That failure taught me something that I've practiced deeply. Conservative, sneak up on these things, right?
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. So you were trained, you had some fundamental training, correct?
Yeah, my journey has been one that has required a lot of alternative methodologies for learning. So, when I trained with Dave Miller at Rutgers University, where I was studying, it was when I first visited him, and I said, "Hey, I'm a student here. Maybe I could be your apprentice and learn and maybe get a little credit for it." He said, "I'm sorry, I can't do that. I had a guy do that with me like a couple of years ago and it didn't work out. He actually ran off with some of my tools. So no thanks, And luckily, I was persistent and continued to be interested in speaking with him. And he connected me with a local PTG chapter in my hometown of Chicago. So during the summertime, I went home and I got connected with people like Dave Carpenter, who invented the Varituner, and he hung out with me a little bit to try to show me some things. And I practiced a lot on my own, and Dave would let me practice at the university on the practice rooms, practice on the pianos, and he would come in and he'd give me little tweaks about my tuning techniques. And it's funny because it was at a point where I was not feeling confident about tuning pianos, and my mother was still hiring people to tune our piano at home. And I said, "Hey, why don't you get this Dave Carpenter guy to come over here?" I met him. He's really good. And it was a little boost of confidence. He came over and he said, I had actually tuned the piano, but I wanted somebody else to kind of tweak it after me. And Dave came in and he checked the piano over and he said, "Is Ethan here?" My mom said, "No." He said, "Well, tell him, I'm not going to tune this piano because it looks like he did a pretty great job." So that's when I started to first have some confidence about what I was doing. And then I got more on the job training when I worked for a piano dealership after I graduated college in New Jersey called East Coast Piano. I was teaching piano lessons there and tuning pianos for them on the showroom floor and in the field for them. It was actually a nice gig because I could teach these lessons, and whenever I had a break in between them, I just go out on the showroom, make a little cash, and get some practice tuning in between. And probably one of the most valuable trainings I received was years later when I connected with Ken Eshtay at Northwestern University. And I contacted him, and I met him and Bill Schwartz, who worked there, and convinced them to let me hang out and traded with them for training. So I would tune a few pianos in a day, and then I get to hang out with them at their daily tasks or in their workshop where they were rebuilding pianos, and learn some things there. So, I didn't go to North Bennett Street. I didn't study, with Steinway courses or anything like that. But for me, it's been, find every possible method I can to fit in the education through mentorship and other means. That's been a lot of my history as piano technician. You're muted again, David.
So I would just love to, now you have, just to wrap up this portion, I really want anybody that has any questions for either one of us, I want them to ask it. Now is the time. Do not be shy. You have a company now that you operate from Chicago in New York called Floating Piano Factory. And before the current situation, let's say, you were rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Things. I started Floating Piano Factory as a way to continue serving the clientele I had built in New York City while I was doing my PhD. And so a few friends expressed interest in becoming piano technicians. And since I had to navigate my own journey at becoming a piano technician, I took them on, taught them the ropes, and built a business that basically set up a system where when they were less experienced, we could have clients benefit from them learning on the job for a lower cost, but still have someone responsible for their work that could come up and follow up if there were any issues. And that turned into, it was just, we said, let's try this idea. Like, it might be interesting. And it actually turned out to be pretty popular. And
Wow.
a few years later, we got an article written about us in the Wall Street Journal, as a matter of fact. So
Wow.
it's been an interesting project. For me, it's always been a mix of work and money, but also just kind of, I enjoy the concept of mentorship and training. And it's a bit of a creative and personal project for me to continue with Floating Piano Factory. So that's that project.
And just to be clear, it's taking really passionate piano technology students and allowing them to advance in their craft and allowing their pay scale to advance as their craft advances, correct?
Exactly. So actually, Sarah, who's on the call right now, she's been reaching out to me over the past few months and, hey, I'm interested in getting into piano technology. What do you think? Can I be a part of the team? And she's a killer jazz saxophone player, but she actually has zero experience with the piano tuning hammer. So, but she was persistent and she kept reaching out. And so, we worked out a system where she's going to help out with some things for a few months. I'll teach her the basics, and then we're going to start putting her out in the field, and she can start to learn the basics out there. And then we have a graduated pricing scale. And so that's exactly the situation that's going on as we speak. But also we attract experienced people as well, like Pat, who's also on the call here. Pat Carr, he came from Berkeley University, where the music school, where he worked with the staff of piano technicians there for several years. He's actually already an RPT. And so we just have found ways to take people like that and just kind of fit them up higher in our hierarchy of the system.
So I just, if People can just indicate real quickly in the chat room whether they're getting me better now, whether they can hear me now. Are
I think
you
so.
doing that? Well, Tanya, my wife went into the mega server in the kitchen and just fiddled around with it. So maybe it's a little bit better now. So now is the time.
So I see a question here from Caleb Clark. He says, is there an association or connection between the Piano Technician Academy with Michael Stillwell and myself at Piano Technicians Masterclasses? No, there's no connection between those two projects. I can say I have talked with Michael about just piano education, and I think I can't speak for him directly, but I think we're both kind of just happy to see multiple people working on advancing edutech in the piano industry. And I do believe that one of the key differentiators between our two projects is Michael's is started with, we'll take you from nothing to learning the basics of piano tech,
Right.
kind of the next level of a Randy Potter type thing, but bringing technology into that. They have moved into some more advanced classes. I believe they have a course on piano moving, which, could be of interest to folks. Piano Technicians Masterclass, from the very start, I said, let's attract people who actually already know the basics and maybe even already know the intermediate level, but they really want to be at the top of their craft.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And let's connect them with the best, the best in the world. So with Michael, he's the teacher. He hired a few local friends and things like that, I'm sure, just to do instruction. Now he's moved on to hiring other folks, I think, as well, that are already in the industry. But I'm proud of my skills, but I'm also more interested in finding the people that have really established reputations and are also not just good at what they do, but good at teaching, because that's not always the case that people are good at both. So, and then there's another key factor that's different about Piano Technicians Masterclasses is we're really striving to do the live interactive education, not just recorded content, so that you can get on a call similar to what we're doing with the Zoom call here, but what we've done is much higher quality, right? We'll get a camera crew, live streaming with a higher quality streaming service. And, you can see up close and personal, David Anderson's voicing techniques. You can see the needle go into the hammer. It's a way different quality than you might have seen on a Zoom call a few weeks ago. And not only do we bring that quality, we also bring the audio quality in addition to the video quality, which again, you'll see you won't get on a Zoom call. But we bring the audio quality and the interactivity, because I think that you can record lectures beforehand, but you don't know what the questions are that people are going to ask. And so why not right there on the spot, have people go, hey, could you show that again? Or I was wondering, what does this look like? Or could you do this or that? And so basically, instead of having recorded content like a Piano Technician Academy, you get to interact with these instructors and have the potential to build a relationship as well, which I think is a nice feature. Those are the main differences.
Absolutely. I've had insanely great experiences doing a 2.5-hour class, then a 3-hour class with Piano Technicians Masterclass. And that there's a big gaping hole that Ethan's trying to fill. And I think that's fabulous. And there's room. I mean, my God, no piano technicians organization in the world is filling this hole right now. So I've got all kinds of ideas of how to move that down the road while I'm still able to do it. And hopefully you'll see the results of that collaboration with a handful of people that feel strongly about this. Okay, other questions?
I'm going to go ahead and unmute someone named Douglas Gregg, who's raised his hand. Let's see if he has something interesting to say. Douglas.
Oh, Doug Gregg. Hey, man.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, dude.
My video's not on, but I had a question. When you approach a piano,
Yep.
a pianist that's obviously not about to start a concert, but with their home piano, and you recognize that their piano needs voicing. How do you convince them about what you can do for them? Because if you start voicing, you're really committed. So what's your approach?
Show and tell. Show and tell with one note. And do it with techniques that you can reverse if you know how. I have two surefire top of the hammer, close to the strike point, in one case under the strike point, voicing protocols that you can apply in 60 seconds and then hear a radical positive difference in the triple P to mezzo forte tone of the hammer. And if it's too mellow, you just put your thumb on the string, if you don't have oils on your hands, and just smack the hell out of the string with a hammer about 20 times, and it's kind of back where it was or close to it. But that's the way to do it. Oh, wow, that's way better. Let them hear it. Let them hear you mask some of the high partials, just on one note, you know.
And they'll get the idea on one note.
It's never failed with me.
Okay.
Because you play that note, then you play the note next to it, you play that note, and it sounds something like oh, and you play the next note, and it sounds something like ha. You know, it's scientific. It's science, man. You're masking the high partials and accentuating the fundamental. That's what good strike point and close to the strike point voicing does.
Now, I don't have a problem with how you do it. It's how you convince them
that's it. It's just, it's experience.
Got to show it.
Experience always replaces belief.
We've got a related question I can follow up here with.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and mute you again, Douglas, and raise your hand again if you want to say something. Emile Baudet asked, been tuning for 2 years, doing some regulation repairs, but have been always afraid of doing voicing. Ethan, how did you start? So for me with voicing, I don't consider myself as advanced as some of the people that have voiced, for our lectures, but I have done some significant voicing projects. And, how I got started, if this helps, is, this is way back after college when I was tuning for the place, East Coast Piano. It was the owner of the store. He said, hey, the tone of that piano needs to soften up a little bit. Yeah, it's really easy. Here, I'll show you. You just take a needle and you do this and that. And you just, he was just he didn't necessarily know what he was doing, but I think that little moment helped me realize, okay, this is something I can get into. And I think a lot of people are really kind of afraid to even start. And so from that point forward, I found it okay to here and there start needling hammers in situations where there was a harsher tone than necessary. And then in terms of like going back to the question that Douglas asked, like, how do you convince clients to do it? I think that that's a great comment that David made of giving them a sample, and I think more than picking out your clients, who should have it and who shouldn't, Boaz Kirchenbaum in his course that we have on voicing makes a great recommendation that just voice every piano that you work on. It's not about, this piano needs it and the other piano doesn't. So you could say, it's a spin it. He said he practiced a lot of his voicing on uprights at Steinway, and so it doesn't have to be a specific type of piano to voice it. And you might have some flexibility, just learning some techniques. You can show somebody what you did on a piano. You could say, hey, what do you like of this section? I'm going to do a few notes. You do them in an inconspicuous area, maybe in the low bass or sort of the lower mid range or the lower upper range, the lower high range. And just say, yeah, here's a few notes. And to be honest, especially when it's voicing down and you're needling and you've got a bright old piano anyways, maybe you're doing some filing, it's gonna sound better. And so
100%.
yeah, so they're gonna say go for it. And if it's your early on project and you just want to get the experience, now that they said go for it, you don't have to charge them an arm and a leg. You can say, hey, you know, I want to do this for your piano. I think it's going to sound good. Let's move forward. It's going to be XYZ. Can we do that? Go ahead and do the project. And once they're happy, then you know you've got the experience on your belt. And as you move forward, then you can start offering higher price points for voicing. And by the way, voicing is a very valuable thing you can do. Once you get good at it, I don't think anybody should be afraid to charge significant amounts for doing voicing, because at this point, what I'm seeing in the piano industry, not a lot of people, you know, the percentage of people who know how to voice is very low, and the percentage of people that know how to voice, they deserve to be paid for their expertise that they put in the time and energy to try to get good at it. So that I would put that in as well.
That's right. And just an addendum to Doug Gregg. I was thinking about this after you said it. That has never missed. I have never had a fail when I've, masked the high partials of one note and compared it to the note that I haven't touched. It's like, oh, do that. 100% actually. So yeah, again, don't be afraid, Emily, I can't, Ms. Baudet or Mr. Baudet, don't be afraid. You're going to be bad first, not necessarily bad, but you don't know what you're doing. So just try, just start, just dive in. More questions, Ethan? We've got just a little bit of time left.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, David, but we'll do I'm going to find an impromptu way to basically raffle off a month membership to Piano Technicians Masterclasses once we've finished this episode. So stick around until we're done, and we'll do some sort of random number generated way of giving that away today. So keep on board. Larry Lobel's made some comments. Let's see here. Let me make sure I go back and see if there's anything else. There's quite a few things here. Let's cut in here. Brenda Ming. Been looking at some of the recorded sessions by subscribing monthly. This is a great resource. Thank you, Larry, for telling me about this. Okay, so this is about PTM. In your earlier days, David, how do you upsell your services? I don't know if we might not have time for that, but let me just go through a few of these questions. We'll see if we want to pick out anything. Kevin Clem, this is incredible value. Thank you for offering this positive viewpoint on piano technology. Upsell regulation by a couple of samples. Pat reinforced that. Larry Lobel had a couple comments. I'm just going to read them out, see if they're valuable to people. He said, the voicing technique that David described seems identical to one he wrote articles about in the PTG Journal, December 2011, January 2012, called Angel Shot Voicing. Those articles describe how to do it in detail, along with a theory about how and why it works so well. Not claiming to have invented it, but talked to other technicians who have figured this out on their own as well. Mentioned the articles because it's hard to describe the technique in detail in this forum, but you can learn how to do it from the articles. Okay, so that's December 2011 and January 2012, Angel Shot Voicing.
And I would say that Angel Shot Voicing was what I first took a class on that right around the time that Udo Steingraber showed me something that's very much like Angel Shot Voicing, not exactly, but very much like it. And yeah, I think both of those roads, my road and Angel Shot Voicing, very close to each other. Thank you, Larry, very much, and your partner too. But it's consistent, and that's what you need for a voicing protocol. It's consistency, to know with a high degree of confidence that you can use this technique and change, especially the lower volume tone of the piano into something I call the golden tone.
Great. I will also just say as a follow-up to that, something that I'm realizing the more and more I'm getting into education, online education, things like this. You see Larry mention an article in the 2011-2012 PTG Journal. there's a lot of information out there. And I think that it's becoming more and more clear that the benefits of knowing how and where to get the right information are really what's at play in our modern economy of information. You know, Google made all the information available is making all of the information available in the world, but they're not always doing a great job at finding exactly what you need when you need it. So that's one thing that we're aiming to do here with Piano Tech Radio Hour, with Piano Technicians Masterclasses. It's to be a place where you can come and know you're going to get good information right away, and you're not going to have to sift through a lot. We'll try to deliver it, you know, directly to you, and so you only have to go to, you know, a handful of good places to get your good information, and you can trust it. So yeah.
So I just want to add 30 seconds.
Go for it.
Actually 60. And I beg your forbearance, and we're going a teeny bit over. Number one, David Boyce, it's great to see a face put to the name for that we've been communicating back and forth low these many years. It's beautiful to see you, brother. And number two, we want to know what you want. This is really, Ethan is doing an incredible job bringing this to you. And I'm so happy to be involved with Ethan and his whole team. We want to know what you want. Please, when you think about, well, I'd like to see this, or I'd like to hear this, or I'd like to da-da-da-da, don't just keep it to yourself. Just send us something, man. A tweet, a text, a this, or that, whatever. There's so many ways to get a hold of us now. And just thank you from the bottom of my heart for being my brothers and sisters in this wacky little domain of acoustic pianos. All right. See you next week.
Yeah, and I'll stay on here for a minute, and I'm going to give away a membership to anybody.
Yeah.
So here's how we're going to do it. It's a little bit awkward way to do it, but I think it's going to work just fine. So if you're interested in earning a free month membership to Piano Technicians Masterclasses, I want you to pick a number between 0 and 1,000 and type it in the chat. And then what I'm going to do is give a random number generator of a number between 0 and 1,000, and whoever's closest, they win the free membership.
Wow, how equitable. How equitable, brother.
You might have to remind us what your number is, you know, once we finally pick the random number, but we'll be able to look back and check that you're being honest. So make sure you're honest about it. So I'll give that a minute. You guys can type in your random numbers.
I truly love this. This is awesome.
Don't send it privately to me, please. Put it in the public information. Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing some people sending it privately.
Oh, let's go next here. Gee, this is awesome. Ed Ray, Jesus.
So I'm going to, let's see here, from Donna Bird, 475. Okay. Are we finished? I think, oh, nope, we've got some more still rolling in here.
Yeah.
Do not vote twice. I will be able to look back. The chat is recorded.
And there'll be somebody in a dark suit at your door within 10 minutes if you vote.
Exactly. But you'll be happy to have a visitor.
Yeah.
Quarantine. They'll be wearing a mask. Okay. All right. Any more rolling in? So I'm going to actually give a countdown here because it's pretty easy to type a number into the chat.
Ethan, will you unmute my video for this last hurrah?
Yeah, sure. I said ask to start video, so you can pop it on whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So nobody else is voting. I will share my screen just to make sure that you're clear that this is a nonpartisan event. We're generating a random number between 0 and 1,000. Here we go. Generate. 806. So if you feel like you're in that general range, maybe like 800 to 810. Did anybody have a number between 800 and 810? Let's see here. Tell me if you can. And anybody have a number between 750 and 850?
Yeah, Mark has 838.
Mark has 838.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody closer to 806 than 838? So 838 minus 806. 806 is 32. Anybody less than 32 away? Speak now or, okay, wait, what do we have? We're saying people have 799 Ed Ria.
Ooh.
Okay. All right. So 806. So that's just 7 away. Anybody closer than 7 away? Better than Ed Ria.
Oh, Tim Michaels missed it by just a little.
Okay.
Olnick was close.
Your video is much better now. We're getting that, David, as well. So that's good to hear.
Wow, Maria Di Baliso, 787. Oh, heartbreak.
Oh, heartbreak. Okay, cool. I think we've got Ed Ria. Is anybody going to dispute Ed's claim to the membership? Awesome. Okay, great, Ed. Ed, go ahead and send me an email, or actually just put your email in the chat here, and I'll follow up with you and make sure you get set up with a month of master classes.
Yeah, congratulations, brother. There's some awesome, badass
Got it.
classes in there.
Very cool.
All right then.
All right. I think that's all we need for today. Did you have anything else you wanted to do to wrap up?
Just thank everybody again. This
Yeah.
is fantastic, and it's only fantastic because you guys are here.
Yeah, it's great to see you all. We really appreciate. I think I speak for both Dave and I. We're really privileged to be something that's worthy of your attention, and to be able to bring you something of value that you feel you want to put some time into. So really appreciate
All right.
it.
Hasta la vista. I'll see
All right.
hopefully most of you next week.
Yep, we'll catch you later.